Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here on a hot take, and this is a sad hot take for me. 2020 has been the year where things of the past that I loved just keep disappointing me. Family Guy, The Simpsons, and now Judge Napolitano. You know, as a libertarian judge, the judge is a fairly big figure. We tend to really like him. He tends to be pretty libertarian. We miss his show, but his take on Portland really confuses me. And the only thing I can conclude is he is buying the hype. So let's get into this article he wrote on Fox News. Serious issues implicating personal liberty and public safety in Portland, Oregon. The police are not enforcing local and state laws. They are refraining from doing so because they have been instructed by elected officials. Okay. The Supreme Court has ruled that state and local elected officials, not police, are empowered to determine the depth and breadth of law enforcement. And the court has also ruled that the police have no legal obligation to protect lives and property. Yes, unfortunately. Stated differently, the police cannot be sued for their willful failures. The remedy for those failures, according to the court, is to elect different officials who deploy the police assets differently. Yet the police have a moral obligation to protect lives and property. For what other purpose have we hired and empowered them? All persons have a natural right to protect their lives and property, especially when the government fails to do so. If its failures are systematic and repeated, it is the duty of the people to alter or abolish the government. We know this from the Declaration of Independence. With you so far, Judge. Portland has been the center of anti-police demonstrations this summer. Yeah, and also anti-police riots. The neighborhood around the state capitol has endured nearly 2 months of nighttime demonstrations. Most of these are peaceful. Some are destructive. I would disagree. I would disagree that most are peaceful. I would say most are destructive. Last weekend, with no notice or local consent, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security sent teams of agents, untrained in crowd control and wearing military fatigues, onto Portland streets. Not true. Turns out they were trained. Their uniforms bore no government, administrative, or personal names, just the word police on masking tape. Also not true. Check the pictures, Judge. They descended upon the city in unmarked SUVs and began grabbing people indiscriminately off the streets without regard for that person's lawful presence or behavior. Judge, I hate to do this to you, but I turn you to 40 U.S. Code 1315, Law Enforcement Authority of the Secretary of Homeland Security for Protection of Public Property. I can't believe I'm doing this to Judge Napolitano, but I'm quoting him the law. In general, A, as to the extent provided for by the transferred may pursuant to the Homeland Security Act of 2002, the Secretary of Homeland Security, in this section referred to as the Secretary, shall protect buildings, grounds, and property that are owned, occupied, or secured by the federal government, including any agency instrumentally or wholly owned or mixed ownership corporation thereof, and the persons on the property. These agents, Judge, were DHS agents. Officers and agents. Section B. 1. Designation. The Secretary may designate employees of the Department of Homeland Security, including employees transferred to the Department from the Office of the Federal Protective Service of the General Service Administration pursuant to the Homeland Security Act of 2002, as the officers and agents for duty in connection with the protection of property owned or occupied by the federal government and persons on the property, including duty in areas outside the property to the extent necessary to protect the property and persons on the property. 2. Powers. While engaged in the performance of official duties, an officer or agent designated under this subsection may A. Enforce federal laws and regulations for the protection of persons and property. They were attacking a courthouse, Judge, with fire and the people inside it. B. Carry firearms. Not a problem. C. make arrest without warrant for any offense against the United States committed in the presence of the officer or agent, or any felony cognizable under the laws of the United States, if the officer or agent has reasonable grounds to believe that the person to be arrested has committed or is committing a felony. D. Serve warrants and subpoenas issued under the authority of the United States. E. Conduct investigations on and off property. On and off property, Judge, in question of offenses that may have been committed against property owned or occupied by the federal government or persons on the property. And F. Carry out such other activities for the promotion of Homeland Security as the Secretary may prescribe. Now, I'm against DHS in general. I didn't think we needed a Department of Homeland Security, but we have one. And seems to me, this is from Cornell Law School, their website, quoting their regulations. These rioters were all dressed the same. They detained suspects dressed like the people who attacked the courthouse. I rest my case, Your Honor. I rest my case. You can't possibly believe that this is illegal. And look at what else you say. According to the account of one victim, he's a suspect. He's dressed in the black bloc outfit, Judge. According to the account of one victim, he was walking peacefully in the downtown area, observing the chaos when 5 masked men in fatigues exited an unmarked SUV, grabbed him, and pulled him into the car. No, he was dressed as the black bloc, if you're talking about the guy I'm talking about. They tied his hands with plastic behind his back. They pulled his cap over his face. They kept him for 2 hours, then released him. They filed no charges against him. They had no basis for this kidnapping. Yes, they did. I just read to you what the basis was. It was a kidnapping and not an arrest. No, it was detaining. An arrest is a lawful restraint by a legitimate government authority pursuant to a warrant issued by a judge specifically naming a person to be arrested or pursuant to the probable cause of crime personally observed by the arresting officers. Neither of these was the case in Portland. First off, you don't know that if that's the case. Secondly, again, it was all the black bloc guys. They're all dressed in hoodies and in black. They all dress the same. So the officers can pick up anybody dressed that way. They're suspects. They're in the area. They have a reasonable suspicion that they were part of the black bloc that attacked the courthouse. And subject to Section 2C, make arrest without a warrant for offenses against the United States committed in the presence of the officers or agents or any felony cognizable under the laws of the United States. Or if the officer has reasonable grounds to believe that the person to be arrested has committed or is committing a felony. That's all he needs. I hate to say it, the way this is worded, they're in the clear. They are in the clear. Judge, what are you doing? Some victims were even less fortunate than those kidnapped. They were assaulted by pepper spray with non-lethal exploding bullets that stun, hurt, and disoriented. They were attacking the courthouse. The bullets can harm the eyes, heart, and liver. I saw a video of a young man riding a bicycle away from the chaos, yet he was attacked by 5 of these feds. I don't know what videos you're watching, Judge, but the Antifa agitators have specifically edited many videos, cutting out the beginning of the video where a member will agitate the officers or do something and then run away and go, help, help, I'm being oppressed. So when they cut out the beginning, it looks like the officers just attack them at random. An Annapolis graduate and Navy veteran asked a small group of feds by what constitutional authority they were present in Portland. They responded by pepper spraying his face and beating his hand with a baton, shattering numerous bones in his hand. They told him to disperse. Now, I'm against his injury, but he didn't disperse. And these people had been attacking the courthouse for almost 2 months straight. Portland is in America, right? What's going on here? Insurrection, Judge. That's what's going on. There's nothing lawful or orderly about what these agents did. Yeah. Hate to tell you, their activities in Portland are unlawful. No, they're not. Unconstitutional. Probably. And harmful. Debatable. They are unlawful because federal agents are selectively arresting folks and not even pretending to be enforcing local and state laws. Under federal law, the feds may not deploy police or military domestically unless the state legislature or the state government requests it. Neither has done so for Portland. Again, these guys were protecting the courthouse. And according to this section, they're allowed to. They're allowed to. And they saw the black bloc. And they've been under attack for days. 4 days. I don't know what else to tell you. It's all right here. And maybe this is before your time, before you were a judge. But here's the part that really saddens me, Judge. Moreover, this is so harmful and terrifying, you say. Being kidnapped, handcuffed, blindfolded, not spoken to, and then released for no stated reason. It will chill others from public dissent. What the Black Bloc rioters are doing is not public dissent. It's not covered under the First Amendment. The First Amendment to the Constitution requires the government to protect speech, not assault those who exercise it. Ho! Hold the phone. Wait, that's the wrong thing. First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of people to peacefully assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. This was not peaceful. They have not addressed for a redress of grievances. They are looking to take over. They've made that very clear. By abolishing the police, which is their ultimate immediate goal, they would be the de facto leaders of the city because there would be nobody to stop them. If these indiscriminate beatings and kidnappings, A, not indiscriminate, B, I would dispute kidnappings, are intended to deter folks from publicly dissenting, it is profoundly unconstitutional, counterproductive, and will be costly to the federal government. I guess you could call rioting a dissent, but it wasn't peacefully assembling. It's not covered under the First Amendment. This is how totalitarianism begins. Well, actually, I think it started many years ago, but debatable. The feds claim that federal property needs protection, and the folks assigned to do so need help. When help arrives, it does so by surprise, under the cover of darkness and a shield by anonymity. Not true. They were wearing their badges. And then the reinforcement beat and arrest and harm protesters because their bosses in Washington do not approve of the protesters' message. Not protesters, rioters. These people rioted. They attacked the courthouse. They lit fires. It's all online, Judge. You are being taken in, sadly, as are some people at Fox News, apparently. Public dissent against the government is a core personal freedom. It is as American as apple pie. Is it American to burn down a courthouse with people in it? One of the pawn shops in Minneapolis was burned down with a person inside it. Is that the kind of thing we're going to tolerate? Oh, well, it's First Amendment. Guess he died for my First Amendment rights to say I'm mad. I think you really need to rethink this, Judge. I mean, look, I'm all for freedom. But what's going on in Portland has nothing to do with freedom. This is an insurrection. These people are communist. And they are using tactics purposely designed to cause harm to these federal agents and themselves in order to gain power, to game the system. I'll talk more about that in my other video about Mayor Ted Wheeler. But again, Judge, I would say maybe look at some different videos and see what's really happening in Portland. Because these people are deceiving you. They are lying to you and lying to the rest of America.